kind of bizarre evening for sure.
How can you argue that racism is not a driving factor in income inequality?
Because it has nothing to do with race and everything to do with culture. And when you have a culture that doesn't, you know what? Explain to me. You explain to me why black kids aren't graduating high school. Explain that one to me. Explain to me why black kids are shooting each other in rates significantly higher than whites are shooting each other. Explain to me why 13% of the population is responsible for 50% of the murder. Explain to me why the number of black kids in prison, not for innocent reasons, not for walking down the street and getting pulled into a prison, is so high. Explain, if it has nothing to do with culture, explain to me why the single motherhood rate in the black community jumped from 20% to 70% in the same course of time that the civil rights movement has made such tremendous strides. Is America more racist now than it was in 1960? And if it is, please explain to me how that happened.
We're doing these debates over at 770 KTTH. This is when I was hosting a local show in Seattle. So for a while there, 2013 through 2015, I believe, I actually hosted 6 hours of radio a day. So I'd do 3 hours in the morning in LA, and then I would do 3 hours in the afternoon in Seattle. And I would remote it in, but I would fly up to Seattle once a month for a week or so, and I would do the show from there. And once every couple of months, we would do a debate. So I did a debate on minimum wage with Shama Sawant, who was on the city council. And then I did this debate, which involved a woman from the local NAACP, that's the woman on the left, and then the fellow who is next to her is a guy who's writing for the Seattle Stranger. What set me off here was the reaction when I said that culture has something to do with how people act, which of course is true. And you can see the woman and the gentleman on my right both react with astonishment. It has to be race. It has to just be discrimination, pure and simple. It's so clearly and obviously true that this has nothing to do with genetics and nothing to do with skin color and everything to do with individual decision-making that has really nasty impact on how people live. And then I lay out all the different sort of disparate statistics and make the point that a lot of these problems have gotten a significant amount worse since the Civil Rights Act. Now, there is no good response to this particular argument, particularly the changes with regard to single motherhood. Why is it that single motherhood, which obviously has downstream effects in terms of poverty and in terms of education and in terms of crime, has risen so dramatically in the black community at the same time that racism has gotten a lot better in the United States? There is no great response to it.
I understand why people would be warier of police officers, given the fact that many police officers are going to react to disproportionate crime statistics with stereotypes. I understand that. There is this idea out there that every person who is born white is born privileged. And I don't think that that is accurate, just as I don't think that every person who is born black is born into a horrible situation. I think that we're all born individuals, and if we can start seeing each other that way, we'll all be a lot better off.
I agree.
Okay, well, I do remember that over the course of the evening, we went from very stern disagreement to a lot more agreement, and I will say that maybe that had something to do with the persuasive tactics, but it's interesting that she says that she agrees that people should be treated individually. That is precisely the opposite of what the critical race theorists say now. I'm basically just citing pure Martin Luther King here. And at this time, even 7-8 years ago, this was seen as a fairly unifying perspective. You can see things would have changed now. I doubt that the people on the stage, if they have the same perspective, good for them. But I think that if you found people to debate me on race today, that simple statement that people should be treated as individuals would be a controversial one today. We'll get to more of me reviewing some of my most viral moments in just a moment. First,